Greetings, welcome. It's Take Two with Jerry and Debbie. We are delighted to have you with us here. On this program, we like to take a unique look, maybe a second look. Perhaps you've thought about some of the things that we discuss on this program before and haven't thought about looking at them maybe this way or another way. And so we just hope you come away from every day listening to this program with a different perspective and maybe a better one, and living a better life. That is the goal of all of this. And Debbie, today, this is a program for everyone, Deb. I can't imagine there's anyone who doesn't know someone, a family member or a friend who is a non-Catholic, an anti-Catholic, or a fallen-away Catholic. We're going to talk about how to help gently lead them toward the Catholic Church.
That's right, Jerry. For the past year, we have gotten so many emails of friends of Take Two asking, what can I do for my loved ones who have fallen away, who just simply can't identify with the Catholic Church? So this show, phone lines are open. This show is for you. You may know somebody, I'm sure you do. You may have someone right in your immediate family, and this is the show we're going to be talking about how to really welcome in. I like to say usher in, Jerry, but since I'm your co-host, it's hard for me to keep saying that since that's your last name. But to usher in people to the Catholic faith and to really get them to embrace it. 1-800-585-9396. Okay, go. Hit the phones. 1-800-585-9396.
Yeah, and this can be a variety of different scenarios. Maybe it's a spouse. You were in love with each other and in love with the faith, got married in the church, and all of a sudden a husband or a wife just says, you know what, this just isn't for me anymore. And then you've got a dilemma on your hands, if you will. Or maybe it's a son, maybe it's a child of yours or a coworker who just nags you at work about being a Catholic, and you want to gently turn the table on that person, charitably, of course, and right. Try to say, hey, there's more to this Catholic thing than you're giving thought to here. So, again, it's 1-800-585-9396. We're blessed to have Devin Rose with us. He has authored a new book. It's his latest. He's got several books. It's called Navigating the Tiber, How to Help Your Family and Friends Journey Toward the Catholic Faith. Devin is a native of Texas. He grew up actually as an atheist in an atheistic home, and due to some health issues that began a search for him toward truth and toward God, he ultimately became a Southern Baptist in 2000. But that search continued, and it was trying to delve into the issues that divide Protestants and Catholics that led him into full communion with the Catholic Church. And Devin, we're all the better off for it, but of course I know you are too. So welcome to Take Two with Jerry and Debbie. Devin, how are you?
Howdy. Great here in Texas, and thanks for having me on.
Oh,
you
Devin.
are very welcome.
Yes, we've been waiting. Deb. We've been waiting for you to come on, but I just have to start real quickly, Devin, with your the title of your book, Navigating the Tiber. Just for our listeners' sakes, I mean, I know that the Tiber is the river in Italy and runs through Rome and has twists and turns to it and has a strong current and all that. Tell us why the name Navigating the Tiber and what the correlation is, just so our listeners can really identify with it.
Sure. This book is to help you lead your, especially Protestant friends and family, but it's useful for any non-Catholic, to help them cross the Tiber River. And that's a metaphor for becoming Catholic. The Tiber, as you said, flows through Rome, and that phrase, crossing the Tiber, became synonymous with entering full communion with the Catholic Church. So this book's a guidebook for that purpose.
Wow, that's amazing.
Very good. Well, and we do have lines filling up. A couple lines are still open here. So again, if there's maybe you're in dialogue, maybe you've been in dialogue for a long time with a Protestant friend, and maybe you made some headway, but maybe they've got other Protestants, even anti-Catholics, whispering in their other ear as you try and share the Catholic faith in one ear. They're hearing these other things in the other ear. If you want to know just some very charitable but effective means of helping people understand the truth of the one holy Catholic and Apostolic Church, 1-800-585-9396.
Jerry, you just said something that just made me, as you could hear me kind of comment with my breath of sigh of, yeah, you're right, Jerry. That was that comment. Devin, let me ask you this. When Jerry was just saying about how there can be others that whisper in the person's ear who is seeking out Catholicism, or even starting to embrace Catholicism and understanding the fullness of the truth of Catholicism, and this person or people are whispering in their ear to kind of put doubt in their minds and put those roadblocks in their way. Do you cover that in what parts of how much of the book is covered in that, and do you help others kind of navigate through that?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I have several stories in the book of just that happening. That might be a friend or family member in real life who sees that their Protestant person at their church or loved one is thinking about becoming Catholic. They might schedule an intervention. They might take them before the elders at the church. They might send them books, thousands of words of emails explaining why Catholicism's evil. Or it could be someone virtual. A lot of Protestants, they watch Protestant preachers, some who are anti-Catholic, on YouTube. They'll watch YouTube videos of them, and they take what they say as gospel. So you're contending then, almost always, with other people in this person's life who are very much fear the Catholic Church and want them to remain Protestant. They're well-meaning, we think they're wrong in this regard. And so the book is strongly about how do you deal with that type of thing in your friend's life.
Take Two with Jerry and Debbie and our guest, Devin Rose, and you are the featured guest. Our listeners, your takes drive the show. So we want to hear from you, your questions, your comments. Maybe you've helped to lead someone into the fullness of the Catholic Church. You have I don't want to call it a success story, but you have seen God's grace work through you in the life of someone else. Share that, because that could be so inspiring for our other listeners as well at 1-800-585-9396. Devin, I'm going to, for the sake of time, I'm going to assume that we all want, we have this heartfelt desire to see all people become Catholic. Sometimes, unfortunately, people have non-Catholic friends and anti-Catholic friends and neighbors and family members, and they just kind of agree to disagree and coexist. But we should all have this desire, I believe. So let's assume that is in place. Given that, what's the best way to start with somebody? You don't want to, get out the Bible and bang, bang, bang on the head, or the Catechism or something like this. How do you suggest you start this dialogue?
Yeah, I give several ideas about looking for opportunities. Now, sometimes your Protestant friend will broach the subject himself and bring it up. Well, there you go. But there's also ways of looking for things that might come up, right? Something that Pope Francis said that's controversial, or a saint's feast day, or a novena you're praying, or you're making the sign of the cross. There's always these types of Catholic distinctives that come up, and a lot of times they're bewildering to our Protestant friends. They simply don't understand what it is. Each of those can be then a little doorway to beginning the dialogue. And then in the book, I take you through a very logical progression of topics, so that it's not just random, but it's very logical, ordered, and organic connections between each of these steps to help your Protestant friend consider the Catholic Church.
Interesting. Devin, our listeners should know by now that I've spent my whole adult life in religious education. So I've for many, many years, so many people have come into religious education saying to me as a catechetical leader, they'll say, I just sometimes feel like the Catholic Church is overwhelming. There's so many things to know. And it's hard to really understand and relate to so many of the elements because it's vast and it's huge. And you touched upon that, but how I guess I want to get back to within your book. If I were to hand this book over to, which by the way I plan on doing, if I were to hand this book over to someone who is really praying about possibly looking into the Catholic Church, is it going to, when they finish the book, are they going to say, okay, I want to learn more, I can do this, I'm drawn to it? Are they, or or is it a type of thing where they put their toe in the water with your book, and then they say, well, let me let it sit for a while? I guess I'm curious as to what have been the responses of the people who have read your book. What have they said? How have they gone on in their spiritual journey? I'm curious.
Sure. This book, so my first book, The Protestant's Dilemma, is definitely one full of arguments and responses that you could give to a Protestant friend. This book, Navigating the Tiber, it's much more the inside Catholic guidebook. In other words, you could hand it to a Protestant friend, but or a non-Catholic friend, and it would be very interesting to them. As a matter of fact, it would be fascinating because they would be seeing the Catholic faith from the other side, and they could actually follow the steps themselves that I proposed that you suggest as a Catholic to them, but they could follow it directly. And it would lead them to start with understanding basic things like, why do we know what books belong in the Bible? How do I start reading the Bible? Where else do I go? Oh, the Catechism. Yes, begin also with the Catechism because it's a summary of our faith. So they would be have their interest piqued to be able to start on that path.
Yeah, that's cool. That's really cool, and that's much needed. I have to tell you. I could just imagine. Jerry, how do we get this book for our listeners? What's the best way?
Well, I've already put a link on take2show.com, our website. And it's published by Catholic Answers, so you will find it. There's a link right there. Just go to take2show.com. There's a link. Awesome. Just click on that. It'll take you right to the shop at Catholic Answers. A couple more minutes here, then we'll get to your phone calls. Those of you on the line, 1-800-585-9396. We're speaking with Devin Rose. His book, Navigating the Tiber, Tiber. That's that river in Rome that figuratively people say if you swim the Tiber, that means you swim across to the Vatican. You become Catholic. And the subtitle is How to Help Your Friends and Family Journey Toward the Catholic Faith. Now, if you find that you know people that fit that description, this is the time for you to call into the program. And Devin, right before we go to the break, we can get into some of this more deeply as the show goes on, but you present the 5 biggest non-doctrinal problems. I want to hear this because so many times it's this doctrine, this teaching about Mary or the Pope or what have you, but what are the 5 biggest non-doctrinal problems that keep Protestants from approaching the Catholic Church?
Oh, you might have to help me remember them. Are you talking Pope, Mary, Crusades, Inquisition, sexual abuse scandal?
I believe those are the ones. So those are big ones, though, and so often misunderstood, Devin. They're so often taken out of context and misrepresented, especially by the media.
Yeah, and so in any conversation that it's ongoing with, let's say, especially a Protestant friend, but also just a general non-Catholic, those things are going to come up. They will bring up the Inquisition at some point, or the Crusades, even if they know almost nothing about it, or they'll bring up the Pope and Marian dogmas. So in the book, one of the things I do in the book is I don't just give you a fish and say, here's the answer, but I teach you how to fish. And that might be telling you where to look if you need to go into more depth. But it also points things out like, this friend of yours probably knows almost nothing about the Inquisition and the Crusades. With the sexual abuse scandal, they probably have misconceptions about it. So there's very practical things then that you can do that responds to them, that also then draws the conversation back to the fundamental topics that will actually be more important and valuable toward them considering Catholicism.
Interesting. Fascinating. The more I'm flipping through the pages of your book, Devin, the more and more I'm thinking of people who really need to read this book. It's amazing. I'm making a list, actually, as you're speaking. So,
oh, great.
This is very, very cool. Okay, well, dear listeners, there is an open phone line for you, so you can call in and speak to Devin Rose, our guest for this entire hour on Take Two with Jerry and Debbie. The number to dial is 1-800-585-9396. And Tina, get ready. You're going to be first up. We'll be right back.
In this election, we get to focus on the policy issues that are important to Catholics. The problem with this election is that you don't know what's going to happen next. If you want talking heads yelling and screaming, you're at the wrong network. At EWTN, we are covering issues in depth.
Daily convention updates and commentary from a Catholic perspective on EWTN TV.
EWTN. Live truth. Live Catholic. Why did millions of people tune in each week to listen to Mother Angelica on her live television program? Because she had the answers. Whatever the question, problem, or heartbreaking sorrow, guided by the Holy Spirit and directed by the teachings of the Church, Mother Angelica had straightforward solutions to life's puzzling problems. Mother Angelica's Answers, Not Promises, a profoundly practical, humorous, and common sense collection, available now at EWTNRC.com.
Good to have you with us on Take Two with Jerry and Debbie. I think we all know somebody, probably lots of somebodies, who are fallen away Catholics, never been a Catholic, but are Christian of another tradition, maybe even anti-Catholic. Think the Catholic Church is from the devil. Some people get really pretty radical in their thought and their position. So we're talking about that today. And if there's anybody that you know, maybe you've got a heart for this or that particular person, and you want to approach them, maybe not quite sure how to do it, what to lead with, how to go about it. Devin Rose is here, and he is a convert to the Catholic faith, having basically studied his way into the Catholic Church, and he's written a new book on how to help you do this. 1-800-585-9396. All right, Tina, thank you for holding in Calgary, Alberta, Canada, listening on EWTN.com. Tina, you are first today on Take Two with Jerry and Debbie. Welcome, Tina. How are you?
I'm good. How are you guys?
Doing great. Thanks for the call.
I have a brother. All my nieces and nephews are baptized, Catholic, of course. But I have one brother and a niece, and a sister-in-law that isn't. And I always find it a little bit difficult to... I love my brother, and we still get along as family, and it's all cool. But I just find it a little bit hard to have discussions with him that are meaningful, because, of course, all of what I'm made of is Catholic, right? Mm-hmm. So it's like I have a little bit of trouble communicating with him, mm-hmm. because he's not and I am. And actually, I have to be truthful and honest and let you know that there is sometimes a little bit of anger that comes from this, because
is that from you, Tina, or from your brother?
No, just from inside of me.
Okay.
Just because.
Well, let's let Devin have a... Devin, I'm sure you've heard things like this before, where it's sometimes tough for people just to muster the words or the courage, and there are going to be tension sometimes.
Yeah, briefly, Tina, is he atheist, agnostic, Protestant? What is his belief?
Okay, well, here goes. My mom brought us up all Catholic. I still am. The rest of my family is. He got married. My one brother got married in a Catholic church, but then divorced and got remarried in Ontario somewhere, and I chose not to go to the wedding because it was too far for me to travel at this time. At that time, I have a disability, Devin, just so you know. B, I just didn't want to support a wedding that wasn't Catholic.
So he did not get an annulment, Tina, is what you're saying?
Yeah, well, yeah.
Okay, well, Devin, go ahead, Devin, yeah.
Yeah, so in the book, I address this kind of situation, which is very common. One is it's a family member, which means, too, that it's difficult because a lot of times a prophet's not honored in his own family. You know, you just think, oh, that's my sister. I already know what she thinks. And maybe you've been over exuberant with sharing your Catholic faith in the past, and so they don't want to hear about it. There can be lots of things like that happen. When you throw in a divorce and a remarriage, well, then that's a sensitive subject, and people feel like they've been burned, or they might feel wrongly that they're been ostracized by the Catholic Church. I have a chapter on that in the book as well, because this is a sensitive topic, and that might not be the one that you need to start talking with them about, but it might come up in the discussion.
Right.
So, as well, the feelings of anger and frustration, those happen to almost every single person, so you shouldn't feel that that's something that's awful. I talk about how to deal with that, and sometimes you got to take a step back and just be a good sister to him for a while. Just work on your own relationship with him, looking then for those opportunities that will come up about the Catholic faith. And then, of course, you keep praying for him and see if those opportunities do arise. So I address a lot of these topics in the book because they're very common. They happen a lot.
That is great advice, Devin, to just be a good sister and to start with that book. I think it's awesome. I think you've given Tina some good things to start with. And Tina, it's good to hear your voice. Thank you for calling in. You're a friend of Take Two. It's always good to hear your beautiful voice. Thank you for that, Tina. And God bless you, and keep us updated on how things are going and transpiring with your brother. We'll be praying for you, and please remember us in your prayers. Okay, we're going to move on because we have full phone lines, so we really want to make sure as a phone line gets opened up, there's time for somebody to jump in at 1-800-585-9396. So Tina, release that phone line. Go, you guys, start dialing it in. Renee in Townville, Pennsylvania. There comes another call. I love how our Take Two listeners, Jerry, just jump in when they know a great topic like this. Renee, thanks for listening in Pennsylvania. Welcome to Take Two with Jerry and Debbie and our guest, Devin Rose.
Well, hi, it's my first time listening to you folks.
Do you like us, Renee?
Welcome.
Yeah.
Some of the things you're saying, I agree with. I just want to make sure that people understand that it's way simpler than I have to be Catholic. I was raised Catholic, but I call myself Christian. We go to a little Methodist church down the hill from us, and the biggest issue is just that we're Christian, and I don't think we need to be on like different school teams saying, this is the right way, this is the best way. I think it's as simple as you love your neighbor as you love yourself, and you love your Lord, and it's brought back down to that. And everybody gets caught up in rules, and I think part of the reason we ended up, I know the reason we ended up down at the church is because everybody was so good to us, and they're our neighbors, and we fellowship together, and we work together, and we mission together. But I don't condemn anybody that goes to the Catholic Church. And when I hear the Catholics saying that, the Methodists or the Baptists aren't doing it right, and when I hear those, church groups saying that the Catholics are like crazy and the way they do things, I take no part in any of that. I just have no tolerance for it.
All right, Devin, you certainly have heard much of what Renee is saying before, especially on your own journey.
Yes, absolutely. This is an idea, and hello, Renee, of a mere Christianity, right? That there's sort of a lowest common denominator, golden rule type of thing, John 3:16. And isn't that enough? Can't we just have that? And at one point in time, I would have said yes. I would have agreed. Isn't it enough we all believe in Jesus and seek to love others? But when you dig a little bit deeper, that becomes problematic. For one thing, because Jesus was very uncompromising in John chapter 17 when he prayed we would be perfectly one as he and the Father are one. And yet, by the very fact that Renee goes to a Methodist church, it means we're not perfectly one. And we have different beliefs, different ideas about the sacraments, different church governance. So there's a whole host of things then that divide us when they shouldn't. And there are ones where there's mutually exclusive beliefs, either A or not A is true. They both can't be true. That might be on moral issues like abortion, contraception. It might be on theological issues, like the Holy Trinity or like the Eucharist.
Yeah.
So
Hold that thought right there for a second, Devin. Renee, don't you go away either. We've got Mike and Matt and Roy as well. and an open phone line as we talk about helping family members and friends journey toward the Catholic Church. 1-800-585-9396. We're so glad you're with us.
The EWTN home video highlight for July is Mother Angelica Presents Seasons 1 and 2. It's the show that helped launch the Global Catholic Network. Mother conveys her wisdom, humor, and tremendous faith in front of a live audience. Order your DVD set at EWTNRC.com 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, or call 1-800-854-6316.
Youth ministry has always been a top priority for the church. I devoted most of my life to it. John Paul II started a phenomenon called World Youth Day, a gathering of young people from around the world with the Pope. It's typically the largest event the Vatican offers the world. That's not just because of what we have to give young people. It's because of what young people have to give the church and the world when they open their hearts to God. Some of the greatest saints in the history of the church were teenagers. And those who weren't, it's only because they lived longer. Holiness plus youth equals unstoppable force. In the words of John Paul II, no difficulty, no fear is so great that it can suffocate the hope that springs eternal in the hearts of the young. The young are our hope. This is Chris Stefanik. Complete coverage of World Youth Day 2016 from Krakow continues all this week only on EWTN, the Global Catholic Network.
Hey, Catholic high school and college filmmakers, want to get your work seen in over 250 million homes around the world? Then enter the Cool to Be Catholic commercial contest. We're looking for original 30 and 60-second spots that focus on Catholic themes. 3 grand prize winners will get an all-expense-paid trip to the EWTN studios in Birmingham, Alabama, and a guest appearance on Life on the Rock. To find out more and to enter, go to EWTN.com/cool2becatholic.
We are so happy you are with us on Take Two with Jerry and Debbie, and we are talking with Renee in Pennsylvania. And Devin, you were I want you just to pick up where you left off, maybe rewind just about 10 seconds, and continue with Renee, so we can all listen.
The bottom line is that it's not an option to say that we're all okay, and this specific challenge to what I'm saying I address in Navigating the Tiber, because it comes up a lot. Renee's not the only one who thinks this way.
Renee, do you have any Yeah, go ahead.
I'm not saying this is like free love, do whatever you want, there's no rules. I'm not saying that at all. I'm just saying I've got a very eclectic group of friends. I've got Amish friends, I've got Catholic friends, I got Catholic family, I have Methodist, Baptist. They all think they're doing it the right way. This Church of God, they think you have to have adult immersion baptism. Everybody thinks they have the absolute correct way. And I think God keeps us on our toes that way. But we have to dig into our Bible. And, that's one of the things in the Catholic Church. We need to bring our own Bibles. We need to open them up. We need to read them. We can't just, rely on, okay, they got it all filled out for this week for us. We need to open them up every night and read it. And the youth has to be part of it. We have to include them in what we're doing. It's just not all, the Catholic way or the highway or the Methodist way. It's got to be, we're Christians. It can't be, you got it all right. And that's great you converted and you like this way to worship the Lord, but we have to incorporate our fellowship of Christians and work all together and not just be closed-minded about perhaps they're doing it the right way.
Renee, you brought up probably about 6 or 8 points there that, unfortunately, we don't have time to get into all of them. Devin, you do, I believe, cover the one thing that I think we can touch on just for a minute here. Then, Renee, we got full phone lines. We got to move on. But the whole notion about the Bible. I mean, Devin, there were centuries. I mean, before the printing press in what was 1500s or whatever, we couldn't pick up our Bible at night and read it. We needed the church, first of all, to compile the books of the Bible, to preserve it, to translate it, to safeguard it, and to hand it down. So I believe you cover that in the book, correct?
But we're in a different time and date now. That's just the way it is.
Well,
right, so
I don't know that that matters.
Let me respond here with this. So what Renee just said without realizing it, and I address this in the first chapters of the book, and the way to move with a dialogue with Renee, what she just said assumed the Protestant paradigm of sola scriptura, the Bible alone. And where I would go with this next would be to ask, how do you know which books make up the Bible? Because she said, pick up the Bible and read it. And I say, amen. The Bible has 73 books in it, and her Bible only has 66. So she's missing 7 books that God inspired, and she's probably not thought about that. That's where you go with this discussion. She has a Protestant paradigm and doesn't realize it. And it's the paradigm itself that has to be challenged.
Interesting. Well, Renee, thank you so much. We have absolute full phone lines, and we're going to move on, and we hope that helped. And Renee, keep listening, especially when we're doing shows on the real presence and different topics in the Catholic faith that just really, I think maybe it would just help to really understand why so many of us very much value and would die for our Catholic faith. And so it's very interesting. It's a great conversation. We'll keep it going, Renee, and we hope you listen. So we're going to move right along. Thank you so much for calling, by the way. Matt in Erie, Pennsylvania. Matt, I'm looking at the clock, and you got our Patience Award. You're listening to EWTN Radio on the Station of the Cross. Hi, Matt. Welcome.
Hi there. How are you today?
Doing well. How are you?
I'm good. I got a question for Devin about his book. I'm a converted Catholic from back in 2000. And my wife is currently enrolled to start RCIA in September. And she's as active as we can possibly be. But I'm curious if this book would be a good read for her, even though she's already willing and going to do all the readings that come with it and everything. The Catechism of the Catholic Church is rather dry for somebody coming in. So I'm wondering if this is something that's a little bit more explanatory for everything that's coming up and will prepare her maybe even for the RCIA program.
I would say it's probably not the perfect candidate for her to read in RCIA. It's more a book to help her get to RCIA, and now she's there, and I have a chapter about what you do once she's there in RCIA. It would certainly be very interesting to her because it would take her through some of the doctrines and ideas that she's already studied and come to accept the Catholic Church's teachings on. So it would show them to her in a new light, and it would be valuable for her to read, but it might not be, I'd probably recommend the Catechism as well as I do in the book for her.
Right. All right. Well, then we're definitely going to get it because even though I am Catholic, there's, like everybody else, I can learn something new every day. I'd like to take a look at this as well because I started doing a bit more research myself. So thank you for the information, and I really appreciate it.
All right, Matt, thanks for the call. And by the way, Devin Rose's book, Navigating the Tiber, published by Catholic Answers, you'll find a link the simplest possible way. Just go to take2show.com, and right there on today's show description is a link. It'll take you right to the shop at Catholic.com where you can get a copy of the book. And you'll also find just off to the right side of that the big yellow circle with the J and D, and that will take you to Debbie and we have a website, Jerry and Debbie. So click on that, post prayer intentions on the prayer wall. We've got rosaries you can purchase there from the Holy Land, One Faith Experience DVDs. So love to have you stop by at our website. You can find it all right there at take2show.com. Up next, Roy, listening in Newark, New Jersey on EWTN Radio via Sirius XM 130. Hi, Roy. Thank you for your patience in your phone call.
Praise be Jesus Christ.
Now and forever.
Amen. Well, guys, Jerry, Debbie, and Devin, I listen to your show every day. I'm a recent convert coming in, before Easter. When I came in, my family, of course, they're all Southern Baptists. I was raised Church of Christ. They didn't want anything to do with it. My wife especially was really combative about it. when she finally accepted that this is what I had to do, I told her, I said, if I don't do this, I'll sin against my own conscience. And that's something I don't want to live with. So she accepted it. They refused to go to Mass with me or be involved. But she's becoming more open as time goes along. She'll send me links about the Pope. She even sent me a crazy link yesterday. Somebody else sent her and the Pope had endorsed Hillary Clinton. I said, that's impossible. And she said, I don't believe it either. But anyway, to get cut to the chase, she's more open than I thought she would be at this point. But I want to get her into the Catechism. I think that would probably be the best route for her. She's a pretty smart girl, and she reads well. I think the Catechism will be the best way to get her to understand the faith. But I need a couple of facts, because I know she's going to ask. When did the Catechism come about, and what brought the church to create the Catechism in order to explain our faith? Those are important questions she'll ask. Once she gets into it and starts reading, I think she'll be fine. She's not going to do it without having an origin story to begin with. She accepts that the Catholic Church is established by Jesus. She accepts all that. She even accepts that the Pope is the successor of St. Peter, and the other bishops are all, she accepts apostolic succession, but she just can't make that jump. So what about the Catechism?
Yeah, my book, Navigating the Tiber, would be good for you because it would help you to guide her in those issues she still does have. The Catechism itself, understand, Catholics, we don't put it on equal footing with the Bible at all. It's not the inspired Word of God. It is a handy summary of Catholic teaching over the past 2,000 years. So it saves you from having to go back through encyclicals and documents and councils for 2,000 years, and summarizes the most important points in a very logical format. There have been multiple catechisms over the centuries, so it's not that any one catechism is the only one. There's been several as the church's understanding has deepened of the truth that God has given to us. So the catechism is great. I highly recommend it.
Yeah, and he was asking, Devin, about the origins of it. Pope John Paul II called for the writing of the Catechism. I believe it was 1994 that it was published. And Roy, if you have access to the Internet, I'm sure there has got to be a Wikipedia article on this. So if you just do a search, Catechism of the Catholic Church, you will find a whole lot more information about that. And hope that is helpful for you, Roy. And we're going to be praying for your wife. This is good news that she has softened toward your Catholicism and even is open to possibly coming into the Catholic Church herself. So thanks, Roy, for the phone call. Appreciate it.
Yep. Thank you, Roy, from Newark, New Jersey. I love it. Just about 20 minutes from where I grew up, West Caldwell, New Jersey. So it's very exciting to hear from New Jersey. Devin, real quickly before we get to Jason, how much do you cover in the, because I mentioned it, the true presence, the real presence of Jesus in the Eucharist. How much do you cover that? Do you cover that at all?
Yeah, I cover the sacraments, and including the Eucharist, and I cover it, not each one in great depth, but in the course of the conversation, whenever these do come up, the way to defend those, and then especially to bring out what I call the ace in the hole, the Church Fathers, who, of course, all believe in the real presence of Christ in the Eucharist and other Catholic beliefs, and to bring those into your friends' awareness so that he can realize that early Christians believe this way too.
Oh, that's perfect. Absolutely perfect. That's a great conversation starters, and it just builds upon that. I love it already. I'm loving the way you laid out this book. Okay, Jason, thanks for waiting, listening to EWTN Radio in San Diego, California, listening on the EWTN app. Hi, Jason.
Hi, Debbie. This is Jerry. And Devin, how you guys doing?
Great.
Really good, Jason. How about you?
Oh, good. Awesome. Yeah, I'm a convert. I haven't read your book yet, but I saw it online, The Protestant Dilemma. I'm a convert. I was raised Protestant, pretty much Baptist and non-denominational.
Cool.
Okay.
Yeah, but basically my question is, okay, I was confirmed about 3 years ago. I was actually a Protestant missionary in Mexico, too, so I got to see both sides of the church in Mexico, here in the USA. But I was confirmed here in the USA. But then I understand now when we're baptized, we're made children of God, we receive the virtues of faith, hope, and charity. But what I noticed when I came into the church, you guys, is that you guys helped me a lot, EWTN, Catholic Answers, and Life Team, stuff like that. But what I noticed when I came into the church is that there seems to be a lot of division between people who are going to call it like modernists and traditionalists and, and stuff like that. But that's my first question about that. The second one would be, I heard that a lot of converts after they convert, like quit practicing after a year or two, and they just become like cold. But the first thing I want to ask you guys, and I asked you earlier, is that when you talk about traditionalists, I'm talking about guys like, I hate the name names, but guys like Michael Morris and stuff like that, the Vortex, Church Militant TV,
I'm familiar with them in that question. So you want to kind of ask why are these divisions even within the church when we're supposed to be unified?
Yeah.
Well, briefly, that's a good question. One short answer is, even within the Catholic Church, there can be legitimate diversity of ideas on certain things. In other words, there's the extraordinary form of the Mass. Well, and there's also the ordinary form of the Mass. Both of them are accepted. There's all the Eastern Rite, Byzantine, Maronite, etc. liturgies. So there's a beautiful diversity there. Now, what can happen is, though, that certain people can feel like, no, this is the one right way or best way. Maybe it's women should wear veils. No, women shouldn't wear veils. Well, and that can become for them this most important thing. And then you have other people who don't understand that or who disagree, and there's disagreement. That disagreement can be okay when it doesn't get vitriolic, mean-spirited. When we can recognize that we are all Catholic, submitting ourselves to the Church, and we want to grow and learn and understand. But there can be legitimate differences even within our churches as a unity.
What about Devin? Jason asked, this hasn't been my experience. I'm sure it happens to some people, but he said, he says, why is it that a lot of people will convert and then after a year or so, that fervor, I guess, fades out and they become lukewarm or just stop practicing the faith? Has that been your experience, Devin?
I've certainly seen it happen. It's not been a majority by any means. And Sherry Waddell's the For Me Intentional Disciples, she really digs into this kind of stuff. And we as a Catholic Church need to do a better job by a factor of 100 in engaging in Catholics and people who become Catholic, right? Helping them in their faith, helping them grow. The sky's the limit on the types of things that we do. And some parishes do it better than others. But oftentimes people come to the Catholic Church and they become disillusioned because maybe like what the previous caller Renee said, they had great community and fellowship in their Protestant church. They come to the Catholic Church and their parish has no groups, organizations, and they feel isolated. And they might leave the Catholic Church just to have that support again. That type of thing happens a lot.
All right, Jason, there you go. Thanks for your call. Appreciate that. I want to try to get to everybody here on Take Two with Jerry and Debbie. Diana next in Tampa, Florida, listening on EWTN Radio on the TuneIn Radio app. Hi, Diana. Thanks for hanging in there with your patience. You're on Take Two with Jerry and Debbie and Devon Rose. Hello, Diana.
Hi, good morning. Yes, I actually calling because I listen to your show every day, and this is how I'm learning. I really so about a friend of mine. He's actually across. He belongs to Jehovah's Witnesses before, and he got out of it because he started investigating, and he, made a decision that it wasn't the right thing to do. But then I was kind of talking to him about Catholicism, and if he wanted to come back to the church because he was Catholic before, and he changed to this, other religion, a cult or whatever you want to call it. But in any case, he was always sending me articles, like, very negative. Pictures of the Pope, maybe sympathizing with Hitler in the past or Inquisition and all that stuff. So I told him that maybe he should search more, kind of like give him a chance to read more about it, and he, he'll make comment well, should I talk to a priest? he's probably not going to tell me all the truth. And I don't know if he's being rude or he's just afraid or so. In that position, I don't know how to start, kind of like a conversation with him about.
Diane, I just got to jump in real quickly because I don't know if others have a difficult time. You were going a little bit in and out, so I just want to make sure we've got the right comment and question you have for Devin. Your friend has fallen away and kind of has these issues, if you will, and there's still stumbling blocks for him or her. And are you maybe asking Devin if this book would possibly help, or because it sounds like you shared with them that they should maybe search out more things. Well, to me, having this book right in front of you is an easy search because sometimes it's overwhelming for others to just begin that search or even know where to start. Is that kind of accurate, Diana?
That was what I was saying, correct.
Okay, perfect. And by the way, thanks for listening to the show every day. We just love that you do that. So you're part of the Take Two family. We appreciate that. But Devin, it sounds like your book would be perfect for this situation.
It would be, and I'll mention one other aspect of the book. It talks about how to determine whether this person is going to be fruitful to talk to, or whether you need to just pray for them and give them to our Lord. Because some people, they are not going to listen. They're not going to, they're just hostile. And you have to figure out whether it's worth your time and our Lord's leading you to actually engage with them for a long period of time, or whether you have to just say, hey, I love you, I'll pray for you, but we're not able to talk about this right now. And so the book helps you to figure that out too, so that you don't waste your time or do something that's not going to help.
Perfect. And you can get it on Take Two. You posted on take2show.com, right, Jerry? So people can just go there?
Yeah.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, Diana, does that help, Diana? I hope it does.
Definitely. Thank you very much.
Okay, very good. Yeah, Devin Rose's book, Navigating the Tiber, How to Help Your Family, Friends and Family Journey Toward the Catholic Faith. You'll find a link to that. It'll take you right to where you can obtain a copy at take2show.com. Devin, we got an email question from David, who listens on 92.9 St. Michael's Radio in Tulsa. He says, and by the way, we got about 3 minutes for this, so we'll be able to get this in here. David says, I have a friend who's a very casual Catholic. She did have her son baptized in the church, but does not take him to Mass. She spends hours, however, in astrology and using astrology as her guide. I believe that this reliance on astrology is substituting for her reliance on God. So my question is, how do I approach her about leaving aside superstition and coming back to the true faith? Thanks, David in Tulsa. What do you think David ought to do there, Devin?
Well, great question. Well, first of all, just to be clear, my book does not, deal with how to help your New Age astrology friend. It's not focused on that. So you might get some good ideas, but that's not the primary target because you're kind of dealing with some different issues there. I would see if you could, depending on y'all's relationship, be able to invite her and her child to some Catholic events, whether Mass, whether RCIA, just to learn more, whether some other type of thing where she could meet other Catholics and get plugged in. That way then she will be in fellowship with other Catholics and will start to learn and realize, there's actually true answers in the Catholic Church. I don't need to check the horoscope, right? That stuff's actually superstitious. You can certainly tell her it's superstitious, but she might need more than that, and really see that there's a viable alternative in the Catholic Church to provide her with truth, comfort, support, etc.
All right, very good. And David, by the way, I just was reminded of someone when I hosted Catholic Answers Live, which, by the way, I'm going to be doing today, everybody.
Yay.
That is our show plug later today at 6 p.m. Eastern Time, 3 Pacific. I will be on Catholic Answers Live for 2 hours hosting that show again. But when I was the regular host, we had a guest by the name of Sharon Lee Giganti on the show. And she has come out of well, just some horrific things, astrology and New Age and all kinds of stuff. And David, if you're listening, her website is newagedeception.com. Newagedeception.com. I'm sure she's been on John Ed Bankovic's show and Catholic Answers on a regular basis. So, David, I hope that helps, and appreciate you listening and sending that email in. Devin, in our final minute or so here, what else is going on with you? You've got these books out now, The Protestant's Dilemma, Navigating the Tiber. I know you've got a family, wife, 4 kids, and a job, so you're doing a lot of this kind of in your spare time. But any other projects coming down the pike?
Yeah, one neat one. I just wrote a app for iPhone and iOS devices for praying novenas, and we are praying a World Youth Day novena to Pope John Paul II for conversions at World Youth Day and also protection from terrorism. So you can just, if you want to join us, go to the App Store. It's a free app. It's called Pray, the Catholic Novena app. And we already have hundreds, I think approaching 1,000 people praying that specific novena, but there's lots of other ones as well. So that's another project I've worked on recently.
That is awesome. Can we put that on the Take Two show, too? Because I know we're going to get emails saying, what is that app?
No. We limit our guests to one post on the website, Debbie.
Okay.
That's all. So, Devin, I'm so sorry.
First thing.
Yep, we're going to have to have you. We'll have to have you back on for that one, Devin.
Yeah. See, he set that up, Devin. So we usually put our great guests on the spot and say, "Would you come back and visit us again?" So we might as well do that on the air in front of thousands and thousands of people listening. Will you come back again and join us?
Yes, I would love to.
Oh, good. Well, this is exciting. Jerry, I did say yay when you said you were guest hosting Catholic Answers. Who do you have on today this afternoon? What do you have on, do you know?
Matt Fradd is on in the second hour.
Oh, interesting. Interesting. This is going to be great. This will be great.
You talk
okay.
while I look this
Devin,
up.
I have to just end with this because I guess Renee's call really prompted me to just reiterate this. I really just for some reason I could just feel the connection with Renee and her wanting to have a further discussion about like this idea of all roads lead to heaven and that kind of thing. And it just dawned on me. I used to get asked all the time, can you tell me in one word why you are Catholic? And as a small child, I used to just say the Eucharist. That's what I would say, the Eucharist. And it's interesting how so many times we don't overemphasize that and the importance of it, and so I just had to say that because when you talked about the sacraments are in your book, and I'm so glad because I think it really helps people to understand why at the heart of why we are Catholic, and I think that's a miss opportunity to catechize. So I just had to say that was my own little soapbox. I don't know if you have any comments on that, but we're getting ready to close the show.
Yeah, just very briefly, in the book I say, well, why, if we're all okay, as Renee said, I said, well, no, you're doing a disservice if you don't invite your non-Catholic friends to come and receive Jesus in the Eucharist. It's absolutely true.
Amen. Wow, another great show, Jerry.
Yeah, thanks, Devin, so much. Appreciate your time. Tomorrow, Trusting in God. I'm going to reveal for the very first time, because they just came to me the other night. I was thinking about this. My 3 P's of trust. Do we have you all intrigued about that? We're going to talk about, do we really trust in God, Debbie, or do we say, Jesus, I trust in you, and in our minds and our hearts we go, well, I'm trying, Jesus, but I really don't. So we're going to talk about our degree of trust in Jesus tomorrow.
But until then, dear listeners, have a beautiful and blessed day. We'll see you real soon.